Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the English Empire channel. Today, I have an incredible story to share with you. It's about a young boy named Thomas, whose journey teaches us that believing in yourself, never giving up, and working hard can turn the impossible into the possible. This story is more than just about improving your English. It's about resilience, passion, and the determination to follow your dreams. So, sit back, relax, and listen carefully. First, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and hit the bell so you never miss our inspiring stories. Let's start with Thomas's story. Thomas was a young boy who lived in a small village tucked away in the countryside. The village was peaceful, surrounded by rolling hills, colorful flowers, and simple homes. Thomas lived in a modest cottage with his family. His father was a skilled carpenter, known in the village for making beautiful furniture and repairing tools. Every day, Thomas would sit quietly in the corner of his father's workshop, fascinated by the way his father worked with wood and tools. The smell of fresh pine filled the air, and the sound of the saw cutting through wood was music to Thomas's ears. A father's wisdom. While other children in the village loved to play outside, Thomas preferred to watch his father at work. His curiosity grew stronger each day, and his father noticed. One day, he said to Thomas, "Thomas, when you work with your hands, you also build your mind." This statement stuck with Thomas. It made him think deeply about how things were made, how every piece of wood had a story, and how tools were the key to creating something new. Dreams of building something big. From a young age, Thomas dreamed of building something big, something that could change the world. But there was a challenge. His family wasn't wealthy. They didn't have much money, so Thomas couldn't afford fancy toys or machines like the other kids in the village. However, this didn't stop him. Instead of feeling discouraged, he found other ways to learn. A curious mind. Thomas had a deep desire to understand how things worked, especially machines. He often took apart old toys and broken pieces of equipment just to see how they were made. He would use old nails, pieces of wood, and scraps of metal to build tiny models of cars, bicycles, and other moving things. While others might have seen these objects as broken, Thomas saw them as opportunities to learn. His imagination ran wild as he thought about how these toys could move and function like real machines. A life-changing moment. One summer afternoon, when Thomas was about 12 years old, something happened that would change his life forever. He was walking through the village market when he spotted a man trying to sell an old, rusty bicycle. The bicycle was broken and looked like it had been sitting in the sun for years. The owner of the bike was about to throw it away when Thomas approached him. "Excuse me, sir. Can I take that bicycle home? I think I can fix it." The man laughed at him. "Fix it? You're just a boy. You can't fix that old thing," he said. But Thomas wasn't discouraged. With a sparkle in his eyes, he smiled and said, "Maybe I can try." The man agreed, letting Thomas take the bicycle home, still laughing. But Thomas was not worried. He was excited. He didn't have professional tools, but he had something even more valuable: The fixing process begins. Thomas took the bicycle to his father's workshop and grabbed a few tools. The bicycle was in bad shape. The wheels were flat, the chain was broken, and the seat was missing. But Thomas didn't hesitate. He worked on the bicycle every day, fixing it piece by piece. It wasn't easy. Sometimes things didn't go as planned, and his hands got dirty, but Thomas didn't stop. Every time something went wrong, he reminded himself, "If I don't give up, I will make it work." A small victory. At first, nothing seemed to go right. The bicycle wouldn't work, and Thomas felt frustrated. But he kept going, fueled by the belief that if he kept trying, success would come. And then, one evening, something amazing happened. After several attempts, Thomas pulled the handles of the bicycle and the wheels started turning. Slowly, the bicycle moved forward. Thomas couldn't believe his eyes. He had done it. He had fixed the bicycle. Even though the bicycle wasn't perfect, it worked. And that was enough. Thomas stood there, looking at the bicycle with a sense of pride and accomplishment. He realized that this small victory wasn't just about fixing a bicycle. It was about the power of perseverance, about never giving up, no matter how difficult things seemed. Learning and growing. That night, as Thomas lay in bed, he couldn't sleep. His mind raced with ideas, new projects, and possibilities. He had learned something that day. If he worked hard enough, he could achieve anything. The next day, he was already thinking about what to build next. He didn't know exactly what it would be, but he knew one thing for sure. He would keep learning, keep dreaming, and never stop trying. Building towards bigger dreams. As Thomas grew older, his passion for machines and mechanics only grew stronger. He spent his time fixing things around the house, building models, and learning more about how machines worked. His father, proud of his son's hard work, encouraged him every step of the way. But Thomas didn't want to stop at fixing broken things. He wanted to create something that would help people and change the world. When Thomas finished school, he got a job at a small workshop in the village. It wasn't glamorous, and it wasn't exactly what he had dreamed of, but it was a start. At first, Thomas didn't get to work on the machines he loved. Instead, he was assigned simple tasks like cleaning the workshop and fetching tea for the workers. But Thomas didn't complain. He understood that every job was an opportunity to learn. Learning from the experts. Every day he watched the older workers carefully, observing how they fixed engines and solved mechanical problems. He asked questions and tried to learn as much as he could, even though sometimes the workers laughed at him. But Thomas didn't mind. He knew that learning took time. He believed that one day he would have the skills to do more than just clean the workshop. One evening, after all the workers had gone home, Thomas stayed behind in the workshop. He opened up an old engine that had been lying unused for a while and began studying it. As he touched each part, trying to understand how it worked, his boss walked in and asked, "Thomas, why are you still here?" "I just want to understand," Thomas said with a smile. "I want to learn." The boss didn't say much, but watched Thomas quietly. Little did Thomas know, his determination was starting to get noticed. His passion for learning was beginning to catch the attention of those around him. The first big success. A few weeks later, something amazing happened. A customer brought in a small engine that no one could fix. The workers had tried everything, but the engine wouldn't start. Everyone had given up, but Thomas didn't. He asked if he could take a look at the engine, even though the workers laughed at him. "You? The one who cleans the floor?" they teased. But the boss said, "Let him try." And so Thomas carefully examined the engine, checking every detail. He found a small problem with the fuel line, fixed it, and pulled the starter cord. To everyone's amazement, the engine sputtered and then started running. The entire workshop fell silent, and the workers stared in disbelief. The boss smiled and said, "Well, Thomas, it looks like you're not just a cleaner after all." Thomas couldn't believe it. It was a small victory, but it was enough to give him the confidence he needed to keep going. That night, as he walked home, his heart was filled with hope. He knew that he was on the right path, and no matter what, he couldn't give up on his dreams. Determination to keep going. But Thomas knew that this was just the beginning. He still had so much more to learn, and so much more to do, and he was ready for it all. After fixing that small engine in the workshop, Thomas felt something new inside him. He wasn't just proud of the small victory, he felt more determined than ever. His success gave him confidence, and he realized that he was ready for more. He knew that he had to keep pushing forward no matter how hard things seemed. Even though Thomas worked hard every day, he still dreamed of building something bigger, something that could help many people. He wanted to create a machine that would change lives. But there was one problem. Thomas didn't have a lot of money. He didn't have a big workshop, fancy tools, or a team of skilled workers. What he did have, however, was his passion, his knowledge, and his hands, which were ready to work. A bold decision. One day, Thomas made a bold decision. He was going to build his own machine. At first, he wasn't sure what it would be, but he had an idea. He could use old parts from the workshop, scraps of metal, broken engines, and even parts from old bicycles. He started collecting the pieces one by one and bringing them back to his small room behind his father's workshop. Every evening, after finishing his work at the shop, he would go home and begin building his machine. He didn't know exactly how it would turn out, but he didn't mind. What mattered to him was the process, the feeling of creating something from nothing. He worked late into the night, his hands getting dirty, his eyes tired, but his mind full of ideas and possibilities. At first, nothing worked. The machine wouldn't start, and it looked nothing like what he had imagined. But Thomas didn't give up. He remembered the old bicycle he had fixed when he was younger. He had faced challenges then, but he had kept going. He whispered to himself, "If I don't give up, I will make it work." Small wins lead to big dreams. Days turned into weeks, and weeks turned into months. Thomas worked tirelessly, fixing and adjusting his machine. He didn't stop. Every time something went wrong, he learned from it, made changes, and tried again. His father noticed his dedication and told him, "Thomas, you are making something beautiful. But remember, nothing is easy. Everything takes time." Finally, after months of hard work, something incredible happened. One evening, after another long day of work, Thomas pulled the rope of his machine, and this time it worked. The engine roared to life. It wasn't perfect, but it was alive. Thomas smiled, feeling a sense of pride and accomplishment. He had built his first machine. It wasn't just any machine. It was a machine created with his own hands, with no money, no fancy tools, and no help, just his hard work and determination. As Thomas stood there, looking at his creation, he knew this was just the beginning. He had learned so much from building this small machine, but he wasn't satisfied. He wanted more. He had bigger dreams, dreams of creating something that could help people, something that would make the world a better place. The first steps towards success. The next step for Thomas was to show his machine to the people in his village. At first, he didn't have many customers, but slowly word spread about the young man who could build machines. People started bringing their broken bicycles, tools, and small engines to Thomas for repairs. Each time he fixed something, he learned a little more. With each success, his reputation grew. But Thomas knew he wanted more than just fixing things. He wanted to create something bigger, something that could help many people. He dreamed of opening his own company, a place where he could build machines that would change the world. There was just one problem. He didn't have enough money. He didn't have land, big machines, or a team of workers. He was just one young man with a dream. A new opportunity. Then, one day, something unexpected happened. Thomas heard about a large factory in the city that might be interested in his work. He decided to take a chance. He packed his things, carefully placed his machine in a small bag, and set off on a long journey to the city. When he arrived, he was nervous. This could be his big break, or his biggest failure. He walked into the factory holding his machine in his hands, and the manager looked at him with a surprised expression. "What is this?" the manager asked. "This is my machine," Thomas replied. "I built it with my own hands. I want to show you what I can do." The manager examined the machine for a moment before shaking his head. "It's good, but we don't need it. We already have our own machines and designs." The road to perseverance. Thomas's heart sunk. He had traveled so far, hoping for a chance to prove himself, but the manager didn't seem interested. He tried to explain his ideas, but the man wasn't listening. He just smiled politely and said, "Maybe next time." Thomas walked out of the factory feeling defeated. It felt like his dream was slipping away, and for a few days he didn't touch his machine. He sat in his workshop thinking about what to do next. But then his father came in and asked, "What's wrong, son?" Thomas looked at his father and said, "I tried. I went to the city, showed them my machine, but they didn't care. Maybe I'm just wasting my time." His father smiled and said, "Do you remember when you were a boy and fixed that old bicycle? People said it was useless, but you didn't give up, did you?" Thomas nodded. "Well, you can't stop now. You must keep going just like you did with that old bicycle. Don't give up on your dreams." Rebuilding confidence. Thomas's heart lifted as he realized his father was right. He couldn't give up now. He had to keep going just like he had when he was a boy fixing that old bicycle. So Thomas went back to work, determined to never give up. A new beginning. Months later, something amazing happened. A businessman named Mr. Williams came to the workshop. He had heard about Thomas and his work. "I've been watching you," Mr. Williams said. "I believe in what you're doing. I want to help you build your dream." Mr. Williams offered to invest in Thomas's company. With his help, Thomas was able to expand his workshop, get better tools, and hire more workers. A dream realized. Together, they worked day and night, creating better machines and improving their designs. But Thomas didn't stop there. He had a bigger vision. He wanted to build a car that was affordable, practical, and could help people travel more easily and safely. It was a huge challenge, but Thomas's team believed in him, and they worked together, cutting metal, shaping parts, and testing new designs. The first car. After many months of hard work, the day arrived when they finally finished their first car. It was a simple design, but it was reliable, affordable, and different from anything else on the market. They called it the Thomas model. At first, the car didn't sell as well as they hoped, but Thomas didn't give up. He worked with his team to fix the issues, improve the design, and make the car even better. Slowly but surely, the Thomas model gained popularity. People started trusting Thomas's company, and soon the car became a success. The future of dreams. As the company grew, so did Thomas's dreams. He opened new factories, hired more workers, and expanded his business to other countries. Years later, as Thomas looked back on his journey, he thought about the little boy who once fixed a bicycle with his own hands. That small victory had led him to create something that changed the world. And he knew that it all started with a simple dream, a lot of hard work, and a refusal to give up. The power of persistence. One day, a young worker came up to Thomas and asked, "Sir, how did you do all of this? You started with nothing. How did you build such a big company?" Thomas looked at the worker and smiled. "It wasn't easy," he said, "but I learned one important lesson. Nothing is free. Everything takes time, effort, and patience. If you're willing to pay the price, you can make your dream come true. And that's how I did it." Conclusion. Thomas's company continued to grow, but he never forgot the values that had guided him from the very beginning: hard work, perseverance, and never giving up on his dreams. And so, Thomas's journey proves one powerful message: nothing is free, but everything is possible. If you have a dream, no matter how small, no matter how difficult it may seem, keep working, keep learning, and never give up. With passion, persistence, and hard work, anything is possible. If you enjoyed Thomas's journey, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on the bell for more inspiring stories and lessons. Keep dreaming, keep learning, and remember, nothing is free, but everything is possible.